welcome to the March 23rd session of the school board. We are in, as you can see, in person, but everybody else is on Zoom. And I want to welcome you. It's now 5:15, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to start with a flag salute. I would appreciate it, Dr. Horvath, if you'd be so kind as to lead us in the flag salute.
Please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Horvath. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
I have a second. Thank you, Mrs. Wells has seconded. Mr. Margot has moved them for the approval. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Aye.
Tristan. Okay, please note that the session tonight, Ms. Tristan Walker is on a Zoom from her vacation, or she's visiting her son, so she's on Zoom. Okay. Report of the closed session, Dr. Briggy. Is there anything to bring to the board?
President Marcus, there was no action in closed session today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to something that I really enjoy, the highlight, the students and the teachers. Take it away, Dr. Briggy.
Thank you. So I'm very excited to introduce Miss Cindy Dubin, who does so much for us at the high school and so much for our district. And she is here this evening to share with us some really good news and some really good success stories from our SkillsUSA students. Welcome.
Thank you. So by way of background, just quickly, I'm going to let the students run the show as we try and do at every possibility. But I wanted to mention three quick things. Number one, I'd love to come back another time to do a full update on our career education department. But for those of you who aren't aware of what we offer, we have pathways in business and media and audio production and culinary and engineering and now fashion. And most of those programs have 3 classes, or they will have 3 classes by next year. Very exciting. And they are taught by really dynamic professionals. I think we have a few online tonight, Chef Rick Leese and Romeo Carey, and I'm mentioning those two because their kids are being highlighted tonight. They go above and beyond, and you'll see that reflected in the students' comments tonight. I just feel very lucky to work in this district at this time. The whole one-size-doesn't-fit-all philosophy that we are embracing now is enabling us to really help kids soar, I think. And it's a team effort. We have tremendous support at the district site, from the curriculum side with Dustin Seaman, from finance with Wade and Angeli, to Michelle Redston, who runs the College and Career Center, to our M&O, to custodial. It is a team effort. It's complicated to teach kids on state-of-the-art equipment, get grants, all of that. And so I'm very grateful that our whole district supports these programs for the kids. And then I just wanted to remark on competitions. I just personally love competitions. I think there's so much that kids can learn. I know when my kids were attending El Rodeo, and a teacher had devoted herself to bringing the kids to Science Olympiad for years, and then she retired. And I don't know, for some reason, I just felt like I wanted to help continue that tradition, though I have 0 science background. And I saw what students learned in terms of reading carefully, of camaraderie in something besides athletics. I love sports too, but it's wonderful to do something on the academic side, to time management, to, being on time, all of that stuff, so important. And the thing is, in order to do competitions, really, the best thing is to have dedicated faculty. And I feel so lucky that at Beverly, because you really can't pay for that. It comes from the heart of teachers that are going to go that extra mile on behalf of their kids, whether it's during a pandemic year with the limitations that we've had and how they rose to the occasion, sending kits home and unbelievable supplies, better than many private colleges I know have even tried to do this year, to traveling with the kids during normal years, to Ontario or Kentucky, and helping kids find supplies in the middle of the night, literally, if they forgot their uniform black belt, like Romeo Carey has done in the middle of Indiana. It's heartwarming. So we are so lucky to have Rick and Romeo and all of the teachers who I hope to introduce another time, guiding our kids. It's a holistic approach to education, and I'm really lucky to be working with them. Okay, so now without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Ricky Lee. Ricky is such a perfect person to introduce tonight's program because Ricky joined the media department actually in 8th grade. I am so lucky that the site and Mr. Carey agreed to let us start a program that I had done when I was at Beverly Vista. I think I found a letter recently from Bill Porter. That's for you alums out there. I think it was from 1974. So I think I must have been in 6th grade. I was invited to do elementary school news at the high school media center. So we thought it would be a really fabulous thing to do that program again. We started it a few years ago. And thanks to our teachers, we now, other than this year, we had it in robotics and culinary and in media. So Ricky joined us in 8th grade, and he saw the kids actively running the studio. And he realized he wanted that to be his home when he got to Beverly High. So Ricky just hit the ground running. He's now the senior producer. I'm going to let him take it from here. But you all know him that are involved with the district. He's just, he's such an example of the opportunity, when we give kids the opportunities to run with something, we have so many students who really take advantage of it, and the world will be theirs when they graduate high school. So Ricky, thank you so much for organizing tonight. Thank you all to all the students, and we look forward to hearing about your accomplishments.
Thank you, Mrs. Dubin, and good evening to all the Board of Education members. My name is Ricky Lee. I am a senior producer at KBEF 6 Media Center, and pretty much I can go hours and hours long to talk about the CTE program and how amazing our students are. But today I would like to focus on the recent accomplishment that we have achieved at the SkillsUSA regional competition. I would like to share the presentation slide. All right. So this is a picture, by the way, that we shot last year. The entire contest was all virtual. However, I'm glad to continue this award even during this, or this competition even during this pandemic. So to kind of introduce what SkillsUSA is, SkillsUSA competition, well, first off, SkillsUSA is a career prep organization which connects students with professionals from various industries to prepare students for their career pathways. SkillsUSA serves approximately 372K students and instructors annually, and students are able to compete in regional, state, and national level competitions and related events, depending on their performance and professionalism. Students in KBEV, or Media Studies and TV Production class, and Culinary Arts participated in this competition this year. And specifically, 16 students from KBEV and 4 students from Culinary Arts have participated in this national competition. Just to bring up the statistics that can kind of explain our program and the number of students who are involved, here's a brief overview of the participants, and the orange bar kind of shows the number of students who are now advancing to state, meaning they pretty much beat everyone who participated within Los Angeles County and now are qualifying to compete in state level competition. So last year, almost all of the students went to the state competition, although the state competition was canceled. However, this year I'm very proud to announce that all 16 students who participated in this competition from KBEV are now qualifying to the state competition, waiting to show how amazing our program is. And starting off with the broadcast news production, this is where we are required to produce a 3-minute newscast video, just like how we do for the Norman Update, the Norman News, and all kinds of special reports that we do. We are given a prompt, and based on that prompt, we are asked to come up with the script and then to produce and edit the entire video on time. This year, we implemented creative ways due to all the restrictions that we had to accommodate. So this year, we used 2 separate studios and placed students in those 2 studios, so that way we can see their face without masks while keeping them safe in a safe manner. And the next area that we participate is TV production or television production. Students are asked to create a 60 seconds TV commercial. This year, it was about the career technical education programs and how CTE department can prosper students' professionalism and their skills. And it is amazing because we had 2 sophomore students who just joined the advanced class participate in this category, and they are now going to state, which is absolutely amazing. We also participated in job skills demonstration, where students are required to come up with a script and and necessary visual graphics to demonstrate their job skills based on the programs they are currently enrolled in. So right now, in this case, our student from period 5 advanced journalism class, Jacob Getty, participated in job skills demonstration and showed how he runs the interview for his weekly reports. And last but not least, audio and radio production. Students are asked to produce a 5-minute NPR kind of styled audio clip based on a given prompt. This is pretty much one of the strongest areas that KBEV is extremely proud of. In fact, we have been receiving medals for the past 4 or 5 years. So I am extremely proud to kind of continue this program as well. And now I'm going to kind of briefly introduce Sarah Horfar, one of our amazing junior producers that I love having her in our team, to kind of share her experience of doing the broadcast news production. So Sarah, do you want to kind of briefly introduce yourself and share your experience?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sarah and I'm in 10th grade. I've been doing SkillsUSA since last year, and it's been such a fun opportunity, getting to work with my peers and learn so much about production and broadcast journalism. I personally love SkillsUSA and the experience because it's taught me how to be a better producer. It's important to me because I have been able to develop a voice in my past 2 years doing KBEV and SkillsUSA. I think the most important part of SkillsUSA is just working together and being in sync with your team. This year, I felt very accomplished because I led my team at regionals, which was Jackson, Ava, and Alana, and we got gold, which was first place. And it was kind of incredible. And we all put a lot of hard work into the production, so we're all very excited about that.
Thank you, Sarah. And just adding on top of that, Sarah, for Sarah, this is her first time actually directing the entire project from the very beginning. So just looking at her not only doing that perfectly, but also winning a medal, winning a gold medal from this competition is extremely, it's just incredible to see how amazing and how professional she became. She also joined the program since 8th grade, which is, again, is pretty amazing. And she is going to be pretty much leading the media center. And I, again, am very proud of her and looking at the results. And speaking of audio and radio production again, we have Joshua Katz, who won a gold medal from this competition a few weeks ago. Josh, are you here? Would you mind also sharing your experience and what you learned and, just those kind of stuff?
Hello to everyone from the school board. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Joshua Katz. I'm a senior at Beverly. So 3 other students and I decided to host this event. We competed against numerous other schools in LA County. Region 3 is the region that we competed in. And we had to do an NPR style radio prompt, about 5 minutes long, that consisted of an ad and a 4.5 minute or so prom talking about greenhouse gas emissions and the future of clean energy in California. So it's very much with this day and age and technology. It took us about 2 weeks to complete. It was very encouraging to see all the students, learn how to edit in Audacity, which is an audio editing program, and learn to write a script. And in addition to researching, how California is powered by both, fossil fuels and green energy. And we ended up winning gold. The other team won silver. So Beverly did a really good job. And I'm really excited to, take these skills into college with me. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Josh. This is his second time winning a gold medal at a regional level competition. So again, Josh and Fiory, you guys are doing such an amazing job. And yeah, I think so. All in all, I think this not only this shows that not only we are maintaining and showing our professionalism and our skills within our community, but we're also presenting the skills and accomplishments, and these are being recognized by nationwide organizations. So this is absolutely an incredible experience to have. Again, thanks to Mrs. Dubin and Mr. Carey for their ongoing support. And lastly, I would like to go over the names of students who won a medal and qualifying for state. So these 8 students are advancing to state. Sarah and her team, Jackson, Alana, and Eva, they won gold medal. And myself and my team won a bronze medal. And Fiory and Josh, who just spoke about his experience, they won a gold medal. And Arya Yektafar and Rachel Shabanian won a silver medal. And Natalie Gold and Tasha Jadilahi, they won they were unable to win a medal. However, they are still qualifying for a state level competition. And lastly, Jacob Getty and John Heller participated in job skills demonstration, and Jacob Getty won gold medal, which is absolutely incredible to see. And this is pretty much it for KBEV's experience at the SkillsUSA competition. Thank you so much for listening. And now I'm going to be throwing it to one of our culinary students and to Chef Lise. Thank you.
Well, let's see. I guess in no particular order. Good evening, you guys. Good to see all of you. If I have not met you, I am Chef Lise, and I run the Culinary Arts program at the high school. I think this is my 8th year, which is incredible. But the students did so amazingly well this year, and they adapted. It was just incredible. I really can't take much of the credit for what they did this year, because it was very self-driven and motivated. Although they are some of my, actually they're all my catering students, which means that they've been with me now at least 3 years. So maybe I could take a little bit of credit for some of the things they know, but they definitely applied it and put it together. And I'm super, super proud of them. And so that's really great. 3 of the 4 of them are juniors. And so that means I'll have the opportunity to spend more time with them again next year. And, at this rate, they're going to be just unstoppable by next year. Jaheim is the one senior. And so, but I've had, like I said, I've known him since he was a freshman. So it's just so amazing to see him grow and achieve these things. And again, I can't even explain how proud of these guys. So that's what I've got. So I'll let them kind of fill in some of the blanks of how it was for them.
Okay.
Okay, Melina.
Hi, I'm Melina. I'll start. So I competed in the commercial baking section of SkillsUSA. So we had to make sugar cookies. So I probably spent like a few nights just perfecting the sugar cookies because I wanted to make sure that they looked as good as possible, because you have to take a video of we had to take a video of us scaling down the recipe that they provided for us, and then just mixing some of the ingredients together. And then we had to provide a final picture of what we made. So I got And then we also had to take a multiple choice test on different like aspects of baking and stuff. So I just turned that in, and then I also had to submit a resume and all that. So I got the gold for our region. So that was very exciting, and it was really fun to participate in Skills USA. It was a really great opportunity and experience.
So something to add just really quick. So in all the years that I've done Skills USA, we usually do really well on the savory cooking side. We've never advanced for baking. And so the fact that Melina got gold is just incredible. It's not my forte. I can bake, but it's not 100% me. So the fact that she pulled that off is just incredible. And yeah, again, hats off to you.
Good evening. I'm Isaac Calendris. I'm a junior in Beverly Hills High School, and I'm taking Chef Lisa's class of culinary. This is my third year, actually. And honestly, the skills competition is always something I look forward to every year. Freshman year, I didn't make the cut, and that really just motivated me just to really strive even further. Sophomore year, I finally had my chance to really actually get into the competition. And, you know, although I didn't win, it was honestly just a blessing and like a good experience to actually just be there. This year, however, although it's not as normal as it would be about a year ago, it was still a fun experience, but I really do miss having competitions in person. It was always kind of the thing that culinary in general is almost like an ego-centric thing. So to really prove all this type of thing, to really prove your skills in culinary is to really through a competition, and to do it virtually wasn't as great as it would be last year, but it was still a blessing to really have it offered.
Again, to chime in and kind of explain a little bit of what Isaac's talking about. So for culinary, for the cooking side or the savory side, I usually have more students than they allow to enter to a competition. So in Isaac's ninth grade year, we do tryouts in class. And so he just missed the cut, but you know, it's just, we have such talented students. It is very competitive in the class to even get to try to compete. So, you know, he's been able to do it, you know, last year and this year. And I am very excited to see what he brings to the table for his senior year. I think that's going to be really great. Jaheim?
Okay, so my name is Jaheim. I'm a senior, and I've been with this culinary for 3 years now. I started freshman year. It was like a lot of fun. I've actually been interested in the Skills USA competition since freshman year. I didn't do it freshman year, but I tried out again my junior year, and I didn't make the cut. But this year, I was finally able to do it. It was a lot of fun. You know, I was looking forward to doing it in person like Isaac, but it was still fun for me, and I really enjoyed it. For the culinary arts competition, we made shrimp ceviche, and it was just fun because it was a dish I'd never made before, and it was interesting. You know, I'm allergic to shrimp, but some of my guys enjoy it, but it was still fun for me to cook it. And it was I love this class. With this class, I've been able to get accepted into CIA and Culinary, which is the Culinary Institute of America. I don't know if I'll go there yet, but I'm happy that I've gotten in, and it's one of my definite top choices. So I was happy to be part of the competition and be part of this class.
Any comments from any of the board members on this? If anybody wants to make a comment, well, we're going to start with Mary. Mary?
One moment. Rick, is Regina joining us tonight or no? No, okay, all right, never mind. Thank you.
I'd just like to say congratulations. I have been fortunate enough to be able to have some experience with KBEV in the broadcast group during the campaign, and it was such a pleasure working with everybody. So it's really great to see your success, and as well
the culinary group. You guys are making me so hungry right now. I can't tell you, but it's really wonderful to hear about your experience. So thanks.
Okay, Mary, Ms. Dr. Stern?
That was an amazing display of skill, and I was so happy to hear the students explain their trial and error process for all of these. I loved seeing and hearing about how you spent all night perfecting a recipe for sugar cookies.
Muted at feed.
Oh, I don't know if this.
It looks like it's back now. I can hear you guys.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Anyway,
I just thought it was wonderful to see the students explain the process, because it's always a journey and not a destination. There was trial and error in perfecting your craft.
And Isaac, I want to tell you, I was particularly happy to hear that you felt encouraged and inspired to go forward after you were given a no. And I think that's a wonderful lesson for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Margot?
I'll defer to Tristan first. Did you have anything to say?
I'll just be quick. It's really so wonderful to see students so passionate, and also for me personally, so many that I've gotten to know over the years. In this group that just spoke, there are students that are regularly in my house, students that I coached a dozen years ago, and it's so amazing to see them having grown into these almost adults, following their passion and achieving these great things. So bravo to all of you, and to the leaders of of these incredible programs.
Congratulations, all. I just want to ask Culinary, how did they judge the contest?
I could fill in a little bit. They were making a video and they'd have to chop it down and edit it down and within a certain time frame, which could be a little tricky. But they're always looking at the key things that they look at is sanitation and safety. That's the most important thing they look at in this whole competition. Is like, even when it's in person, it's about 60% of their score is on safety and sanitation. So I'd imagine, what they're looking for in the video was the use of technique. Because of what they were doing, they're making a shrimp ceviche. So, there is the technique of not applying any heat to that dish. You're cooking it with acid and know how to properly do that, and to know what the shrimp should look like when you mix everything in with it and how long it should sit, et cetera. And they're looking at their knife cuts. So they specify for each item, if they want like a brunoise, if they want julienne, bâtonnet, they're specific to what they're looking for. And again, the use of gloves and proper, utensils, cutting equipment, so on. So that's in general what they look for. I would imagine they were looking for the same thing in the video. As far as baking goes, because they made this competition in a way that students didn't have to apply any heat sources, not knowing the situation the student would be in at home, which I do find interesting that they use shrimp because some people either might be kosher or, in Jahim's case, allergic to it. But I guess it's worth the risk, right? But in baking also, so there's no heat applied. That's why they had to make sure cookies, and they had to cut it to a certain size and certain thickness, et cetera, and show the technique of making the cookie batter and everything. When it boils down, it's a science. And so, showing kind of the measuring process and the application of the technique, that's usually what they're going for, what they're looking for. But, safety and sanitation is their key point for that.
Thank you, Chef. Melina, where's the cookie dough now?
Well, actually, for the baking competition, actually cook off the cookies. So we had to present, I believe, 6 cookies and then one broken in half, so you could see the inside texture of the cookies. So I did like a whole cookie photo shoot and tried to find my best cookie picture. So
That's terrific. Congrats.
On a side note, sell French macaroons as a side business, so that's pretty awesome as well.
Well, I just want to congratulate all of you. It's wonderful.
I have to tell you, it must be so rewarding with all the work that you put in to come away with those awards. And you really do our school proud, which makes me really feel like it's wonderful that we're represented. It's wonderful that we do so well. And it just gives us a great deal of pride in our students and in the school. So I want to thank you again. And as for the baking and cooking, you know that I live in my kitchen. So I wish that when I was your age, I think I flunked home ec. But today I would be very, very good, I think. And so thank you again, and thank you for sharing your stories. And we look forward to more wonderful things when it goes to the state, looking for some great results. Thank you. Okay, we have also now a student presentation, a Bill of Rights, I believe, and you, Dr. Brady.
That's correct.
Preface that?
Yes, as we know, students are vital to our educational system. Students want to be partners, they want to have a voice, and students throughout the state and also the country are pioneering the adoption of a localized student Bill of Rights through board resolutions. And so to explain all the work that's involved and what our students have been up to, I will turn this over to Agi, and I can let you make some introductions as well.
Hi, my name is Agi Tava. I am the president of Generation Up Beverly Hills and part of the class of 2022 at Beverly Hills High School. I'm going to share a presentation with you today on how the Student Bill of Rights that we have drafted came about. Before I get into that, I wanted to introduce the Generation Up Beverly Hills, which is the organization that I am representing. Generation Up is a California-based national student-led organization that is advocating for education equity and reform. And I learned about this organization over the summer, and what really caught my attention was the fact that it is completely student-led, and it strives to connect students with a community of students who are passionate about education. And we in Gen Up Beverly Hills, we have been really proud to create an atmosphere to really develop our leadership and to understand that we can make a difference. And the campaign that we're really working on right now is the Student Bill of Rights. The Student Bill of Rights, as Dr. Breggy introduced, is an effort to really cultivate student agency and recognition, and also to recognize the fundamental rights of students. This is to further our commitments to providing high quality education and and to really show student voice and commitment and also participation. I think it's so important to pass this Bill of Rights. Additionally, this Bill of Rights is, again, important for students because it's a resource for them to learn their rights and also to reference it at any future point when those rights are not being met. And to look at the resolution more broadly, I wanted to show some of the districts across the nation who have adopted the bill. Their own versions of it, and you can see a few districts here. I think it's important that we follow the lead of the two biggest districts in California, San Diego Unified and BHUSD, in passing this resolution. Now going more into the work that went into this document. From August, that's when our serious work on the document began. And from August to December, me and the rest of the Generation Up executive team, we worked on the first draft of the Bill of Rights. And the co-authors of the document were be respected as a teacher would be respected by other students and staff that's included in number 12. Now I want to also talk about some of the things we specifically added because the students gave us that feedback. Something that came up in all of the meetings that I had was all students have the right to be heard. And so we include this one on number 21 on the bill that is about being able to be heard and recognized when voicing our ideas or asking questions. Number 22 was completely suggested on the document by a student, and we only mildly edited this, and I wanted to read you what it says. It says, all students have the right to have a positive environment that encourages them to explore and learn new concepts and enjoy their various academic and social experiences. Number 6 on the bill was also added, and number 5 was revised due to the students' feedback. So finishing my presentation, I wanted to summarize some of the important points. This document, again, is outlining the rights of students K through 12. It is important as a resource for students in particular and for our district in general. It is promoting student empowerment and engagement, and right now no such document exists. There is no comparison, which makes it even more important for us to have this. It is developed by students and represents students. And the group leading this initiative was Jenna Beverly Hills, and we collaborated with the elementary student councils, middle and high school ASB, and diversify our narrative. I wanted to know, are there any questions from me about this bill or the writing process?
Are you going to share some of the items themselves that are going through the list, so you want to wait till we do that?
I think the document itself was also posted along with this presentation. I can go through it. I can present the document as well if you would like me to.
Okay. This is...
Should I also present the document?
I haven't. You don't have to. I haven't done that.
No. Okay. Mrs. Wells, any?
Well, what was one of your greatest challenges to be able to, in trying to include all of the student population from K through 12?
I think one of the challenges with the high school first was to make sure that we're getting the feedback of everyone, not just our executive team, because we did represent all the students, but we also had to get everyone's feedback, and kind of engaging other students was also a little bit of a challenge. With getting feedback from the middle school and elementary school student councils and ASB, the biggest challenge was to figure out what is the right wording with translating the students' statements in the Padlet to some of our items. So that was the biggest challenge when it came to getting the feedback of the lower classmen.
Is there anything that you learned about the district that you didn't realize until you started to do this?
I actually came to the district in 8th grade, and through the process of getting feedback from the elementary students, I realized how smart the students are and how passionate they are about education from such a young age. And how much of a voice they know they can have. As somebody who lived in another country before I came here, I didn't always feel that way. And so that's the opportunity to express your voice from a young age, and also how passionate the students were from a young age is something that I picked up throughout this process.
Well, I think it's great that you did it. I think I love that it's for students. It's developed by students and for students, and promoting that agency. And it is something to think about that it wasn't here and that you recognize that need. So it's really fantastic.
Thank you. Any other questions for me?
Tristan.
Thank you.
I'd love to see this kind of advocacy. I love when students take ownership of their experience and bring things like this to the forefront. It's so important. And a lot of times as a board, we get so lost in the, 30,000 foot level of what we do, that this isn't something we really step into. So I absolutely love that you guys took this initiative, that you were so well. I mean, you really went to every different source. You went to all the district leadership and cabinet and all the different levels in the grades to get this feedback. I think that's just so incredibly important. And I have so much respect for not only the initiative, but the process that you took. So thank you. And I will just, things like this make me feel like the kids are all right, despite all the challenges and the pandemic and all of the different things that kids today are facing. You guys are doing a bang up job. So thank you. You should be very proud.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Stern?
Wonderful job. I love how it really was able to give you guys a real world feel of democracy and putting together things in a living, breathing document that I'm sure, and I hope it will evolve over time, and that it is something that will be revisited and worked on, as we know that there's rapidly changing ideals in politics, and I think it's a wonderful, and a whole host of other academic and real life applications. So congratulations and good job. Thank you.
Mr. Margot?
Thank you. I appreciate all the work done into this. I have a couple of questions. One, were there any points on numbers 1 through 22 that you felt specifically that the district is not really addressing? I'm sure you could agree, most of the issues we seem to have hopefully under control in our district. But I was wondering if there's any one that you guys wrote that you thought, this is an area that really needs focus.
Can I give you 2 numbers?
Sure. Dr. Brett, you write these down.
So the first one, I think, and I'm having some noise in the background, excuse me. So the first one would be up-to-date textbooks. This is something that we added. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but some of our AP classes have textbooks that date back to 1997 and 1999. And as a student taking those classes, this is something that I feel should change a little bit, and we should have updated textbooks, not just for the humanities, but also for the sciences. I'm taking AP chemistry right now, and some of the modern chemistry that should be included in our textbook is not, because it dates back to 1997. That's the first item. But I also wanted to thank the districts for really working to update the humanities textbooks right now. I know that some of my friends are taking AP Human Geography, and that has a very up-to-date textbook. And the second thing would be, this more applied to when we were in school, clean and renovated bathrooms. Some of the bathrooms in the main buildings in Beverly Hills High School, I want to be completely honest, you can see the person next to you. And so we thought that renovated bathrooms and clean facilities are something that we can, as a district, improve on. But of course, with COVID, that has, been more important over the past months.
Thank you for those. Fortunately, your second issue is being addressed and should be in good shape, especially come fall. Is there from what you know, a national movement for a National Student Bill of Rights? And are you connected to any efforts related to that?
From what I know, Generation Up used to be a California organization. It was just for students in California. However, this year, like a few months ago, they updated into a national level organization. So right now, with Gen Up being a national organization, I believe that other students in other states who are just joining Gen Up will start to take on this initiative. I personally have not been in contact with any students outside of California, but within our region in Generation Up, I have talked to other students in different districts who wanted to do this initiative. And it was really rewarding for me to talk to one other student who was just starting the process of developing their student bill of rights for their district. And I got to kind of tell her about what I did with getting feedback. And so I have been connected with other students more in California, not in a national level.
Thank you, because one would think that like this should apply to students throughout the country, not just locally. So it's interesting to see the direction that the organization will go, and if they can actually move it towards a national level, because every student should be have these rights. And finally, for Dr. Breggy, since it's not a voting item tonight, this resolution, I'm sure it'll come back to us. Has this been vetted as far as board policy, legal, and union, to make sure that it's not overstepping any bounds or saying something that it can't? Because once the board adopts it, we have to stand by it.
Yeah, we have not put it through legal or shared it with the union at this point. I don't see anything in there that would in any way be a conflict.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And this would be something, as you were alluding to, we did not want the board to feel that they had to listen to a presentation and also make a decision on a resolution. We're trying to improve upon providing this information to you and then asking for a vote. So we will bring it to you at the next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I also just wanted to say that in the meeting that I had with Dr. Reg, I remembered you talked about how important the memorialization of this bill would be in the minutes. And I just wanted to say that I understand that, and I believe that this bill right now is as strong as it can be. I look forward to hearing any feedback that we can get from now until when this resolution is being voted on. And thank you so much for giving me this time.
Okay, just two comments from me, and I've got to tell you, I want to congratulate you on this wonderful presentation. Very comprehensive, and I share most of the thoughts of my colleagues on the school board. I only have one more comment. I read all of the 20 some odd comments that are made on the bill of the student bill, and it's 22 as I recall. And as I read them, I thought that there were some that could be combined into maybe one, so there would be fewer of them. That there seemed to be in the same, they almost were identical and very closely aligned. And as I read through them, I thought, gee, this is such a tremendous number, and there may have been a way to some of them combined so that they would be fewer number, they could be aligned into one sentence or one statement. So that was just the only comment that I had on them, and I was very impressed by this completely. So I just wanted to share this with you and your committee. That's an amazing job you did. You should be really proud of this. And as for the fact, I thought this was something that was going on in the state right now. I thought this was something that was being done in the state, and I know the comment from Mr. Margot was national, but I know that this is coming up in the state right now, I think, and they are doing it statewide. So again, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to say that with the bill, you can certainly see themes, and that's why some of the numbers may look the same. Something we can do is break it into themes. So if you believe that we should shorten the number or change the formatting, please let me know. I am looking for that feedback before this document can be voted on. So thank you.
I hope you didn't mind that I said that, but that was my comment in reading all of them, that there were some almost duplicates that could have been combined.
Okay, so we will work on doing that.
Number 2 and 15 to get you started.
You already picked out 2?
Just it's the teacher in us, right?
Okay.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, moving along. I think we are now up to comments from the community, if I remember correctly. And I believe we have Teresa Marinova, Teresa, why am I having a trouble with this? Terranova, Marissa Terranova. Hi, Marissa.
Hi, good afternoon. Going to start speaking now?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Beverly Hills Unified Board members, Dr. Breggy, district administrators, and community members watching. While I wish this was a prideful and positive letter, the truth is that I am disappointed and saddened to hear about 10 notices that went out to elementary teachers last week as part of the Reduction in Force initiative. Without a doubt, we are facing an uncertain future during this time as we navigate a brand new hybrid learning model for elementary and plan transition into hybrid learning for the secondary level. What's concerning about these recent RIF notices is that all of these members teach at the elementary level and have recently returned to in-person instruction. They're already risking their health daily for the sake of our students. And have they received the support necessary to be successful thus far? Have they received gratitude for what they are doing lately? This is a huge feat for elementary educators, and I admire all of the work that they have done and continue to do for the sake of providing a robust learning environment for students. These RIF notices are a sad and undeserving reward for all of their hard work. Since our district is a basic aid district, it is my understanding that even with declining enrollment, our funding is not based on students in seats like many other surrounding districts. And based on the last board meeting budget report, it seems that we have plenty of money to keep our extraordinary elementary teachers, make elementary class sizes small, and give our students the very best learning environment. We can be the envy of LA County, yet it seems we are not taking full advantage of all of the resources available to us, our fantastic teachers. If post-COVID learning means smaller class sizes and more robust programming to combat any learning loss, doesn't that mean that we would benefit from having more teachers on hand to staff these classes? I hope you make the right decision. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, teacher and BHUSD site rep Marissa Terranova.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Terranova. Okay, the next one will be David Galst. David?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, terrific. This is, I'll keep my comments brief. This is about the high school reopening. First of all, it sounds like there's a lot going on with the stable cohorts and the MOU, but as parents, we're just not aware of any of that. So in the future, it would be good if you can be more transparent. And then I had two questions. One, we're supposed to elect whether we want our kids to return to school tomorrow, but we don't know what the plan is. And it sounds like you guys don't know what the plan is. So my question would be, how are we supposed to do that? And then the second part of the question would be, if things don't turn out as we plan, can that be changed? In other words, can we stay online and not go in person?
So I can address that. So I will talk a little bit more about that in my superintendent's report. But the schedule that we are using has been available. We've sent it out a couple of times, but I'll touch upon some of the points that you brought up, Mr. Galtz, that in my superintendent's report shortly.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Can we just, we're supposed to elect tomorrow whether we go back or not. I don't know how we're supposed to do that if you don't have a plan.
Sir, we have a full plan. And so
it hasn't been explained to anyone. You don't know what a stable cohort is, and you don't have an MOU worked out. So you don't have a plan. It's not a plan that we can make a decision on.
Point of order, President Marcus. This is
is
public
public
comment, not for discussion.
This is for comments, right. We'll wait, and David, if you could wait until the superintendent's report, I'm sure he's going to address. I know that there's going to be.
Is that? I mean,
I
don't
think
know the answer.
they're going to be addressed in the superintendent's report tonight.
When?
Tonight.
When is that?
During the meeting, we have this scheduled on the meeting.
I can't stay on, but if someone could send that out as an email to everyone, that would be helpful.
at this point, it would be out of order for us to address that concern. We can't do that at this point.
I hear that, but hear from me, no one knows what's going on, and you're asking us to make a decision tomorrow. I don't know how we're supposed to do that. It's really a basic question.
So this meeting is being recorded, so we will, we can send it to you. I'm aware of your email address, so we can send that to you, and we can also speak to you by phone. We've not received any other requests that people are needing additional support for making the decision.
I'll just drop it there, but you can't explain it today. You don't have a plan, so it's a simple question. How are we supposed to elect when you don't know what the plan is?
Excuse me, Mr. Gold. The time for this has expired. I'm sorry, but it is going to be addressed it is recorded, and Dr. Breggy will be happy to address that with you later on. Right? You'll have a chance, but you will have a chance to make that decision before you do that tonight. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and lastly, Alana Castanon is asking to speak. Alana, are you there?
Hi there, I am.
Okay, good. Welcome.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Breggy, and staff. My name is Elena Castanon, and I am the certificated president of Beverly Hills Education Association. Before I really begin, huge congratulations to all the students and teachers in the spotlight this evening. We're so proud of these accomplishments. This was really incredible presentation. Thank you. And well, unfortunately, I am here to speak to you about a different subject. I'm here to speak to you tonight about my disappointment in your unanimous approval vote for a reduction in force of 6 elementary staff positions that has resulted in 10 of my colleagues receiving layoff notices. Beyond the emotional disruption to the teachers' lives, both personal and professional, these are the same teachers who have spent their year transforming and reinventing their teaching practice, helping to propel our district to great esteem with regard to our online education program. At your board meeting, the very night before you approved these RIFs, you received the second interim report from Mr. Roach. If I had to sum that presentation up, I'd say BHUSD is in a great place financially. And y'all spoke openly about how happy you were to see the district being able to contribute to, large sums of money to the rainy day account. So I would assume that this decision is not a financial one. So on to my rhetorical question for you. Who has ever toured a school and said these elementary class sizes are too small, we should put more kids in the room, right? No one, ever. Now, of course, there is a contractual maximum number of students for elementary class sizes. However, this is not a mandate. Part of the beauty of a basic aid district is the ability to plan programming independent of funding patterns that only distribute funds based on the number of students enrolled. The funding for BHUSD comes directly from tax revenue, regardless of the number of students enrolled. Perhaps it is time for us to focus not on increasing class sizes to the maximum allowable levels, but instead continuing to keep these lower class sizes and stabilizing our staffing here in BHUSD. In this unprecedented year, our students and educators have gone through some of the toughest challenges that they have ever faced. Now some are dealing with the added storm of uncertainty with their job security for the next school year. I am genuinely asking you to reconsider your current path and rescind all of the RIF notices that were sent to these educators. Thank you very much for your time this evening and for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move along.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar minus item 10A1.
Can I have a second to that motion, please?
I'll second.
Okay, Dr. Stern, second. Mr. Margot made the motion to approve the consent calendar without the number 10A1. So I'll call for the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I asked that 10A1 be pulled because item number 14D in its explanation of what the motion was, did not actually mention that motion that we were voting on. And it said it was supposed to be something to do with the furnishings and the furniture at the high school. And instead it repeated the motion from the previous one. So I know that Pam has my correction. So she has made the correction and it's been recorded. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve 10A1. I'm going to make a motion to approve 10A1. Do I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wells. Everybody understand what I just said?
I understand, but point of clarification, did Pam already make the changes?
I think she has what it was going to be, and so she didn't make the change yet. She's going to make the change after our motion.
Okay, so then we need to make the motion to reflect the changes.
What happened was that D did not reflect.
No, I understand. Yeah, but you made a motion to accept 10A1, but you need to make the motion to accept 10A1 with changes.
Yes, with the change.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you. Okay. Moving right along. Okay, we are now at the superintendent's report, and maybe Dr. Brady, you can address the concerns.
Sure. So this evening, as we've done for about the last year, is we've presented the metrics to the Board of Education. And this evening, I'm showing you the cumulative decrease in the adjusted K grade. Especially since the surge that was happening in right after winter break, so in January. And you can see that our new tier assessment, which is assessed every Tuesday, so there have been some new protocols that have been put into place. This is something that we're used to, is navigating our way through the state protocols, the CDC protocols, and also the LA County protocols. Fortunately, with the adjusted case rate that is getting lower each week, we are finding ourselves in an unusual situation, but a good one as far as consistency and communication, that the CDC, the state plan, and also the LA County plan are now in alignment. And so you may have heard yesterday, just last night, changes were made again to match the state and the CDC, and they have lowered the physical distancing for students from student to student desk at 3 feet, and then also 6 feet from a teacher's desk to the student desks. So this is new. This came very quickly. It was surprisingly quickly that this was changed. And so that is going to be something that we're going to look at how that impacts our current programming in our schools. So right now, you heard earlier about stable groups. So let me start with our elementary. The stable groups are still required at the elementary level, and that's because it is easier to have stable groups with students that are staying in the same group. So they are keeping that requirement. What has changed, though, is this control variable, and that is the physical distancing piece. So
whereas we were looking at 6 feet social distancing or physical distancing, we're now looking at the opportunity to place more students in the classroom at the
elementary level.
We're going into spring break, as you're aware, so very cautious about making any changes right now. We have a good system at the elementary. We want to keep everyone safe. And so now that this has changed in the LA County protocols, we will examine how we can improve our elementary schedule But at this time, we're not recommending any changes to the current class sizes for our elementary TK through 5 stable groups. So the stable groups at the secondary level has been changed because you can't have stable groups. And so they're not required because we have students that are changing classes throughout the day. What the protocol says is to, and they highly encourage, they don't mandate it, but they highly encourage having a block scheduling so that students have a longer class period with students and staff and less interaction throughout the day. And so fortunately, we were thinking ahead. We have a block schedule that's in place. We negotiated that into our MOU in December, and we have shared that information, and that's the schedule that we're going to be using at the middle school and the high school. And so what has changed is, again, you don't have to have that stable group because there's no way to run your middle school or your high school with one stable group of students because of people changing classes. And so the language has changed, and so students are allowed to basically have their own cohort where they're going to be interacting with other students. And what the county is suggesting is not having any more than 100 to 120, it says members, but it's really students, in any one's cohort. And so what we have found is that when students are going to school for 3 blocks, or even 4 blocks, that many of the students do travel to the same class as the other student. And so we're really looking at more than likely less than 80, sometimes 70 students within the block scheduling that we have in place. So we are by far under the recommended total numbers of students at the secondary level for 6 through 12 through the block schedule system that we have. So that's important to know because the plan is, and the plan that we sent out, is that we want to honor the requests of our parents and our students. And so we are offering live at BHUSD, which is what we're offering now for the virtual with teachers. And I'm not talking about the ILC, but live at BHUSD. For some families that have reached out and there's approximately 50 days of school left, they wanted to keep that continuity and that delivery of education. And so what we've sent out was a very easy choice. You either want to stay virtual at the secondary level, like we currently are, or you can choose in-person learning. And while there isn't a maximum number of students in a classroom other than that students need to be 3 feet or more from each other, we're looking at what we've based our information on is we're looking at keeping 6 feet currently, and we believe that that is absolutely something that we can do. And through our classrooms, having 14 or 15 students that are within the guidelines of the LA County, the state, and the CDC, that we are within the limits that we have scheduled for our students. So the choice is very simple. It's either stay with what we have, and that is going to be allowed, and for some families, that's working for their children, and some students actually prefer that. We've heard that in our board meetings, that students have written into the board, and they've wanted this option, so we're going to be able to provide that option. Otherwise, we're having a cohort A and a cohort B, and that's in the schedule, that's in the information that we shared, and that is in-person learning. And so students will be in classes, more than likely 14 or less in a classroom so that we can have the physical distancing, and students will not interact with more than 100 to 120 other students. In fact, we are far below that. We've taken sample schedules of students to look to see how many other students will they be interacting with, and we're right at sometimes 70, sometimes 80. We are well below the number, the total number that's preferred by the county to stay under. So the decision is pretty simple. Keep what we have virtually for the next 50 days or so of school left, or come back to an in-person environment that's a safe environment that fits within the county guidelines and the state guidelines and the CDC guidelines. And so I know that Mr. Mead is having a meeting tomorrow morning through PTSA, and I believe it's at 8:30. And so there'll be additional questions that will be asked tomorrow, which is the deadline. And people are, please attend that meeting if you have any more specific questions. And this is aligned up perfectly so that additional questions can be asked and answers provided. So our vaccinations were very successful. We were able to, the one thing we told our employees from the very beginning, we said, we're going to get allocations from LA County, but we said, don't wait on us. The supply is, it's very difficult to get the supply. And so, we were assured that we would get an allocation. We weren't sure how many. So we informed our employees to get that vaccine any place that they can, through their own provider, through Walgreens, through any app that anybody can, and our employees did just that. We were fortunate enough, though, to begin getting the allocations from the county, which they were able to follow through on, to the point where our last allocation of vaccines, we were scrambling because most people already had their first vaccine, and we had lots of open appointments. So we were able, though, to not waste any of our vaccines, and we were able to get shots in arms. So we utilized 150 allocations that we had total. And now that we've done that, and we have fulfilled our responsibility to attempt to provide vaccinations for all of our employees, that we are now moving on to setting up that second dose for those employees that at the district office came for their first dose. So we also asked staff to self-report, and just to let us know, we were curious whether people, we were trying to gauge whether we needed more allocations, and so we had over 400 people that had reported that they've received at least their first dose of the vaccine. And so we know that, again, this is self-reporting. We believe that this number is even higher, but we're fortunate that the supply of the vaccine changed very quickly and that it was readily available. And so that placed us in a good spot, and confident that most of our employees have had at least their first dose of the vaccine that have wanted it. I want to talk to you just a little bit about a change. So we were using, it was a PCR testing, which was in our last MOU, which was the type of testing that was required and that we were providing. Although this is it was now somewhat antiquated, that employees would have to make an appointment, and they would have to then show up. They would have to go through the swabbing and then wait. And sometimes they would have to wait 24 to 48 hours for the results. And now what's changed is that this diagnostic test, this rapid antigen testing, has become just as accurate. And now, if you remember in the beginning, there was some controversy because the rapid antigen testing was not as reliable for testing COVID-19. Now, the technology has changed so rapidly that we have a very accurate test that is 15 minutes or less. We have a new organization, which we trialed on Friday, and so far I've been tested twice, and it really is your results in 10 minutes. And it's really, we have a system set up. We are at the district office and each of our schools each day of the week, and that employees, and we're going to be reaching out to our students as well for through parent consent to begin testing some of our students. And so that's coming next. But this is the first week that we're rolling out this new company with this type of testing, and we're very pleased This is a local-based company, and so we believe that the type of testing that is taking place is we're going to have less need for COVID-19 testing as more people are vaccinated and the cases come down. But it is in our MOU. It was important for our staff, especially our teachers, that they wanted to have this testing available, and we're pleased that we've changed and we have a new phase where we have just as accurate of a test, but it's certainly going to be more convenient, and results are immediate. So I just want to say congratulations to Mr. Allen, who has publicly announced that he will be retiring. I've known for a little while and have not been able to say anything. I can't say enough about Mr. Allen and the work that he's done. Reconfiguration would not have been as successful without Mr. Allen at the helm of our middle school. And so we are very pleased and happy for him, because this is very well deserved. And then now we are, of course, left in a position that we are looking for a middle school principal. And so this is a responsibility that I have that I take very seriously, and know that this is critically important to the success of our district, to find the right person and not finding someone who just wants to be a principal, but finding somebody that wants to be the principal at Beverly Vista Middle School. And so we are going to conduct a comprehensive search. We've already started. We're looking for somebody that has previous experience in administration and middle school teaching. We're really looking for somebody that's going to be able to not only lead us to that next level, but also support and respect the work that's been done, because so much work has been done at this time. And so finding somebody that can respect the work, but then also take it and begin to move it to the next level is exactly the type of person we're looking for. Somebody that's open, collaborative, really somebody that has that style that's inclusive. And we're really looking for somebody that is able to maintain a culture of trust, respect, and success. Beverly Vista Middle School is one of those places where you can just feel that when you walk in it. And so that's a huge, these are huge shoes to fill, but we know we can do this. The process that I like to undertake is certainly not one that I make this decision on my own. There'll be opportunities for input from our students, our staff, and our parents, our administration. At our next meeting, I'll give you a complete timeline of what the process will be. And the interview process is challenging, and it has several interview rounds to it that are competency-based. They're very interactive. The final interviews, in fact, are performance-based, where there's an outcome and there is candidates that actually have to produce tasks that would be indicative of what a principal would be doing. So it's a very comprehensive procedure. I'll give you that timeline so that you have an idea of when to expect this decision coming before the Board of Education, and I will bring that to you at our next meeting, but we have already started the search process. So today was a very exciting day. Reopening in person for Beverly Vista Middle School and Beverly Hills High School. And it was so exciting. Just as exciting as to see our elementary students show up for that first day, it was fantastic to be able to see our students show up for our middle school and our high school. And so we had over 120 students at a 6th grade orientation. Again, mostly students that have never been on a middle school campus, and over 200 students that are freshmen that walked on the Beverly Hills High School campus for the very first time today. And so the deadline for the Return to Learn form is tomorrow. We answer emails if there's questions. We've not received a lot of questions about what the plan is, but if you have it, let us know and we're happy to answer it for you. So we have 1,300 responses so far, And we're waiting for just under 800 for the others. This was earlier today, so I'm sure this has changed. We're sending out reminders, and it gives you just kind of an idea of where we're at. It's very reflective of what's happening even at our elementary schools. So with 653 students selecting to come in person and 413 remaining in live at BHUSD. And finally, a couple big days that are coming up right after spring break. So the 6th and the 7th will be 2 days of asynchronous learning for our students, and our staff will be in their classrooms and they will be getting ready. And our first day of instruction for our middle school and our high school will be on April 8th. And at this time, I just want to add to my report, there's been just as many changes with athletics, and Mr. Ellis has kept us up to date. There's a few more things that have rolled in this week of attention that we'd like to share, and Mr. Ellis.
Dr. Berge, the first 2 days back to virtual, not async.
Thank you. Is this on?
Oh, I can make the correction.
I'll make the correction.
Hello?
While you're trying to find your voice, I'm going to correct mine. And so those are virtual days. So I apologize. Thank you for pointing that out. The asynchronous days are this week. And so the 2 days of virtual are April 6th and 7th. Sorry about that.
Okay, I can't seem to make this thing work very well. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. I'll just use my loud coaching voice. And as Dr. Breggy alluded to, there are lots and lots of changes that are taking place athletically. The county came out as of Saturday night and said we can now return to inside sports, meaning basketball and wrestling and boys volleyball can now go inside. Problem with it is there's a lot of ropes attached to it in terms of us being able to bring our kids back to school safely. One of the main things is, and I have to thank Dr. Breggy, Rebecca, and Mr. Wade, we have to test our athletes twice a week that are playing indoors. And so what they have done, and we work together to put a schedule together where we're going to test all of our athletes, our basketball players and our boys volleyball players and our wrestlers twice a week before competitions. So they have to test negative. And that's the biggest thing that we're going through right now. Second big thing is that as competitions have started, we now have to have a protocol plan in place when other schools bring their kids to ours. And so I would like to share this with you if I can.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Where am I? So we put together, and with the help of Colleen Davenport, she's helped me put this together. Our plan for reopening and what we're going to do for other schools coming to Beverly Hills High School to play on our fields. And so all sports enter campuses. Upon arrival, student athletes will begin lining up at Gate 8 for team check-in, including daily health screening, temperature check, and hand sanitizers. All visitors, including athletes and coaches, must be wearing a mask. So we are asking the visiting schools when they come to us, their check-in things, that we have the parent square on our phone at our high school. The other schools are using a different app, but we're making sure that we check their apps before they come in that they've been screened. We then give them hand sanitizer, and then we put them all through our little scanning machine that we have in the lobby before we send them out to the field. Visiting athletes will stand on the red dots on the grounds for adequate spacing. The entire team must be together before check-in begins. And after a certain point in time, if they're not a part of their team, then we will not check them in. So BHS, a staff member, will conduct the check-in process of each individual. Myself, Colleen, the other athletic directors are also helping supervise this. They will use their own daily health screening app to gain clearance to come onto campus. Visiting teams and athletes will be given specific directions to the game site outdoor bathroom locations. So we're very specific. This order is going out to every school that comes into play at our facilities. Indoor sports must provide a list of athletes who have completed their required COVID testing protocols within the last 48 hours. That we're going to make them present us a list that their kids have all been screened and tested. Okay. There's no parking available on the campus for visitors, and right now no spectators are allowed on campus for games or practices. Okay, and that's part of the LA County Department of Public Health Code. Same game site details, no water coolers are allowed. Individual athletes need to bring their own water bottles. No fountains are in use on campus. All athletes are required to wear a mask at all times. We're running into a little problem. We've had 2 soccer games so far. We've gone away where the officials have said that you don't have to wear a mask. We're making our kids wear a mask. Anybody that comes onto our campus, if their other team is not going to have a mask on, then we're not going to play. We're just going to send them home. And that's going to be made clear before they come to Beverly Hills to play in an athletic event. They are going to play with a mask on. So that's very important to us. Athletes not in the game will be socially distanced on the sideline and benches. Hand sanitizer will be available on both sidelines. Sanitation of game equipment will occur at quarters, innings, and at halftime. No sports will participate in pre- or post-game handshakes, and there will be no use of the school locker rooms. They use the bathrooms located in the stadium and inside the building. As per LA County Department of Public Health, visiting teams are to stay together, not to roam or interact with any other cohorts on campus. So that's what we're sending out to the schools that are going to come participate here. So we're working on, there's a whole laundry list. People say, well, gee, they said you can go indoors. Why aren't you practicing indoors right now? There's a laundry list of things that we have to go through. I spent a few hours today measuring all the facilities so we can end up, we need to have occupancy rooms for our upstairs gyms, our wrestling room, any facility where there's going to be athletes. We have to have the code and the occupancy level for all of our facilities. So spent a lot of time today on that. In terms of the testing, we have that going on, and sanitizing. The bathrooms have to be sanitized and cleaned, and there's just a laundry list of things that we're going through to make sure our kids are safe, or other people, other schools come to us are safe in that regards. So that's kind of a brief update on where we're at. We're moving forward. We come back from break, games will start, and we'll have the testing in place, and I'm pretty excited about it. The kids are really excited about it, but there's a lot of hoops that we have to go through to make sure we maintain a proper safety protocols for all of our kids.
And the one thing I really appreciate is that the theme has always been, the philosophy is that we can be more restrictive, but not less restrictive. And I think by putting measures in place, especially when visitors are coming in and they're using different protocols, that when you come in, you visit Beverly Hills, these are the protocols that we have. And I believe that most people have been very good about, adhering to and respecting the rules of every district, because things, there's guidelines now where it's not as restrictive. So, we're in the same type of decision making that we were a year ago, and we are being restrictive, but we're also being really proactive and safe. Our goal really needs to be opening in the fall with everyone on our campuses. And so with approximately 50 days of school left, it's really important that we don't jump ahead here. Like a lot of school districts, we know as a county that we have set ourselves back after we saw cases dropping. There's a reason why we're at 3.7 right now. It's because people are doing the right thing. And so I think that there is there's a methodology going forward where we are opening up. There's 80 school districts in the LA County. It's 80 public school districts, and out of the 80, there's like 35 or 40 now that are back. So everyone's starting to come back after spring break, but doing this in a very methodical way, in a very safe way, without making rash decisions, will keep us safe for the rest of the year. And again, the goal is keep everybody safe, every school safe, so that we can open up in August with all of our students back.
And I've taken a very conservative approach in terms of coming back. I've actually taken some flack from some of my coaches because I don't want to interpret the rules in a way where we're not in a safe area that is as safe as it should be. And so I have just taken a very conservative approach into coming back in terms of how we're going to go, what the health order tells us we can do, and not find some other health order that says, well, maybe you can do this. And so I've been very conservative in that. And I think it's going to pay off in the long run. And I think as we move forward, our protocols are in place, and people can look at us in the county and say, wow, you have your stuff in place, you are following the order, and you're doing things properly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. What are we doing about away games when we travel?
The same thing, and that's something, we have a league meeting tomorrow morning, and that's something that I have to address with the league coaches in terms of we go onto somebody else's field. We're expecting that type of thing from them as well. And it kind of disheartens me, the fact that we went to a soccer game and the referees are telling us, the kids, that they don't have to wear masks. Well, that's not, and so if we have our masks on and the other team doesn't have their mask on, that's not appropriate for us. And so we're going to get that squared away in our league meeting tomorrow, because if we're going to start showing up at places and they're not wearing masks as long as the county requires them, I'm going to pull my team off.
And transportation is still parent only with child
Yeah.
only, correct?
Yes.
There's no
Yes.
buses yet? There's
No buses yet.
carpools?
Problem we're having with buses is they haven't come up. They still say 26 to a bus, but then they say every other row, and they say, and there's no clear guidance on how we can be in buses.
And we're not allowing either like visiting fans or parents on
No,
our campus?
not yet,
It's
no.
just
Everything is
athletes?
athletes, and that's it.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
my pleasure.
Okay, any other questions for this? Okay, I have some questions for Dr. Briggy, but those are related to
Okay,
his.
then I'll
Thank you
sit
very
down.
much, Mr. Ellis.
Thank you, guys. I
That's
appreciate
very
it.
thorough. Okay, I'm gonna just start off with a few questions here that I have. Dr. Briggy, I want to just clarify a couple of things so that everybody understands. Students are being given a chance to do virtual, which means they stay home, or they can come to school in class in pod A or cohort B, cohort A or B. During that time, they will still be with their teacher. No matter where they are, they're going to be taught by the same teacher, their teacher of that class.
That is correct.
I just want to make that clear to everybody so that they understand that. And that while cohort B is not in the class, they're getting the same information, so that when they come, they'll be up to speed when it's their turn. And when then A goes home, B is in class, they're still got the same teacher. Everything is still the same. That I want to make that absolutely clear. And as for the teacher staying virtual, if they make the decision to stay home, do they have to stay that way, or can they come back in their cohort during that time if they, for whatever reason, they are being quarantined or whatever? Will they be able to return?
So that's a great question. I think that, with the planning, and you could see the numbers where they are, if it stays that way, kind of a 60-40 kind of split, we want to see what this is, what that first week looks like. I think what we want to be careful of is, having this change every single day. So I think it's, we're going to have a review process for those that have changed their mind, and it may work both ways. Somebody who is, in person has made a decision, I want to stay at home. And so if that occurs, a decision can be made either way. And I think that, while we couldn't do this every single day, we will put together a process so that we review those requests most likely on a weekly basis so that those transfers can be made. And as long as we can do it, and like I said, it can't be an everyday switch, we're going to put something into place so that we can meet the needs of our students.
Thank you. Another question. We were scrambling to get the people to take the vaccinations, and some of the people were not actually. Are we going to honor those second vaccinations for the people that came that weren't on teachers or faculty members, so that they can come for their second shot?
We are, and again, just huge thank you to our employees. They did exactly what we asked. We said, don't wait for us in our LA allocation. Get it where you can. And our staff, they just scattered to be able to get an appointment, and people did. So, but the people that were given first doses at the district office will be given
Definitely
the appointment for the second dose. Yes.
And then one thing I'd just like to emphasize again, for any parent who is confused about what to do with that return for the high school, tomorrow Mr. Mead is going to have a town hall presentation where they can ask questions and get better information if
And
they didn't feel.
let me
safe.
clarify the time. So it's
Yes.
at 8 and it's through the PTSA. So that email went out for people to register. That went out earlier today. So check your email. It's through the PTSA, and Mr. Mead is having his own town hall.
Thank you.
It went out at 10:09 this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go around if anybody else has any questions. Mrs. Wells, do you have any questions for the?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Okay, Tristan, Ms. Walker-Schuman.
I think you covered actually the questions that I had. I'll only add that I've had this week calls from 3 different school district board members asking how we did it with our MOU and how we're going back. So I will just say, I think it's fair to say that we're kind of the envy of several school districts and having been able to work out what we have so far. And I know it's a little complicated and people have questions, but bear with us because we're trying to get through it and there's a lot of shifting information. And we're all kind of going through it together. So I just ask for a little patience and thank the staff for all of their work, Dr. Breggy and Tim also for your presentation.
Okay, Dr. Stern.
Yes, thank you everyone for the information. Just wondering what sort of feedback you've gotten from the students who have returned, the younger students. Obviously, it will be a different experience for the older ones, but what has been some of the feedback you've gotten?
It's all been very positive from students. We have been in our schools. We have been through the checking in process with health screenings. And I must say, everything that we've asked, every single request that we've had, parents have followed through with those requests, putting the app on their phone, having the health screening ready. It goes to show you that if you are clear about what you're asking for, people are willing to give it. And so, and thank you to our staff too, who have welcomed our students back. It's been a very, very positive experience, even just with middle school and high school today. And these are students that, have been in our system. They were really excited to be able to see some of our staff and also their friends.
Another question I had is, I think there's an echo on this mic. Okay. I don't know if you've addressed this, but in terms of the unstructured periods, whether it's, what we used to know as lunch recess or passing nutrition, can you explain how that is happening for the middle school students and the high school students?
So the advantage that we have is that we have large campuses. And so we will be utilizing kind of a grab and go for our lunches. And so students will be spread out in different areas so that they can grab their lunch and then they can go find a space. And the campus is going to be open for our students to be able to do that, and which is much different from any other experience, but utilizing that outdoor area to its fullest is the plan.
In terms of socialization or interaction, there's strict rules and guidelines for what students can do. I imagine they can't play with the ball at this point. So what will that look like for some of the leisure periods?
Yeah, and actually it's going to be dependent upon the supervision that each school has, but the expectations and rules are provided to students, and they will continue to adapt. Now that things are changing with LA County, I think one of the most major changes is that they've realized through the research that COVID-19 is spread, it's airborne. And so they've really, the county order that used to be 20 pages long is like 6 or 7 now. And so we're allowed to do the things that we weren't allowed to do before because they just weren't sure. They didn't know enough about the virus. So things like that at lunch, obviously the mask wearing is going to be critical. That's going to be really important. But students are going to be able to, within the guidelines, the physical distancing and mask wearing are the 2 top risk mitigation strategies that are going to be the most important in any setting.
Okay, Mr. Margot.
Yeah, just briefly. Just in looking at the recommended guidelines, I just wanted to give a shout out to my colleagues, my previous colleagues and staff who had the foresight to, one, get into a block schedule earlier than we really needed to, and two, invest in the technology in the classrooms. Because without those two things, this middle school and high school return would be a disaster. For once, some forethought actually played out for us.
Yep, it did.
Also, by the way, Mr. Margot, the teachers are getting, because of the return and the change of using both virtual and are getting training for these 2 days or 3 days, and so they're coming back with some additional training that's been offered to them if they need it, which is going to help them immensely.
And I've said before, I don't think I've said this publicly, but to Dr. Breggy, it'll change the way we teach forever.
Yeah.
And when this pandemic is over, we will still find, let's say a child, for some reason, either has to be out of the country or is injured or something, they can come to class still, when in the past they couldn't, and if they want to. So it really helps change how we look at education moving forward, from brick and mortar to both.
That will be a discussion later. Okay, I guess unfortunately Yoni wasn't feeling well today, so we don't have a student board report. And so we're going to move on to 12A. I need an emotion for 12A, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
BHUSD and BHEA 2020-2021 school year regarding coronavirus COVID-19.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by Tristan Walker-Schumann and seconded by Mr. Margot. This is addendum number 6 to our MOU understandings, as I believe. Is there any questions or discussion? Mrs. Wells? No. Mrs. Walker-Schumann? Nope. No. Any other, Ms. Dr. Stern? No. Mr. Margot?
I just want to thank our negotiating team and our union partners in working together to get kids back on the campuses.
Great.
Safely.
Okay, so I'll call for the question. I'll have a roll call. Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schumann?
Yes.
And Mrs. Marcus is a yes. So that will approve 5-0. Okay, and motion for number 13A, please.
I will,
Approval of amendment number 1 to the agreement with NASTEC International for specialized armed security agent services.
I'll second.
Thank you. This is a motion by Mrs. Marcus and seconded by Mr. Margot. Any discussion or questions? Anybody? I think this is an amendment because now that the high school and the Beverly Vista are open, we've had to increase our security for the NASTEC, and so that was the reason for this motion, just to summarize it. And if there's no further discussion or questions, I will call for the question. Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schumann? And I'm a yes. Yes, thank you. That passes 5-0.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the award of bid number 2021-007, moving services at BHUSD Building A, B1, B2, STC, and interim housing village project.
I'll second.
Who was the second? Mrs. Wells? Okay, thank you. Mr. Margot moved and seconded by Mrs. Wells. Is there any discussion relative to this item? Questions? Hearing none, I will call for the question. Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Schumann?
Yes.
And Mrs. Marcus is a yes. That will pass 5-0. Okay, number 14B, can I have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion for the acceptance as complete grading and vault cover repairs at the high school project performed by Garza Construction and the authorization to file a notice of completion and release retention.
And I will second the motion. So moved and seconded by Mr. Margot and then by Mrs. Marcus. Any questions or concerns about this? Anybody want to ask any? I have a question. can you tell me where exactly this is occurring? The completion of grading and the vault cover repairs, where is that taking place?
Mrs. Marquez, I can answer that question. This
Thank
is
you,
Damavandi.
thank you.
Good evening. The work that took place out on Heath Avenue, and in addition to Heath Avenue, was part of the grading work that was done up in the village area pertaining to the Wolfskill 23 abandonment operations.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I will call for the motion. Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker-Sherman?
Yes.
And Mrs. Marcus is a yes. Thank you very much. I guess that comes down to the communications from the board members, and I'm going to start with you, Mrs. Wells, tonight.
Well, I would just like to say a thank you to everybody, the staff and Dr. Brady and your cabinet and my colleagues and everyone involved. I'm so happy that we are returning to school. I know everyone's very tired, but can lose sight of actually what's been accomplished. And it's such an exciting, wonderful time, and I'm so delighted that we're going back to school. So thank you to everybody. Enjoy your spring break, and for all those that are celebrating holidays at this time, happy holidays to you, and I look forward to seeing everybody after the break. Thanks.
Thank you. Mrs. Walker-Schuman?
Yes, I'll keep it brief. I just want to remind everyone to ask for grace at this time. It's very exciting that we're going back, but I would like to ask for grace for the families who are returning to school, who are choosing to stay home, for students who are reacclimating to being in school in person, for teachers who are scared and excited and ambivalent about returning, for our admin teams, our cabinet and staff who are working their butts off to facilitate these complicated times. There are a lot of feelings about what we've been through this past year and what we're still going through. And I just want to take a moment and recognize that those feelings are valid, and those things are going to continue to change as we evolve back into our regular setting. And I would just ask the community and our parent population to please keep in mind that when sharing your opinions, your viewpoints, and your concerns, that we're all really trying to collaborate and work together to make this a positive outcome, even though we have divergent opinions sometimes. So to our whole BHUSD community and the greater Beverly Hills city, I would wish our community members good Pesach and happy Easter for those who observe, and for our students, a well-deserved spring break. Please don't travel.
Dr. Wells.
Dr. Stern, yes.
I'm sorry, Dr. Stern.
That's okay. I also share in congratulating my colleagues, the staff, the cabinet, Dr. Breggy. Figuring out all the logistics to make this happen has been a monument of work, and it's incredible. And I'm happily optimistic that children continue to be resilient and continue to show flexibility. And if they did not, then we would have heard a lot more complaints from the children themselves. And knock on wood, we did not. We are not out of the woods yet, as we know, and as Tristan Walker-Schuman said, there's a lot of pain still, and we have to be cognizant of that, and that all transitions are difficult for young and old, as we are creatures of habit, and it's still something that we're all learning to do. But I am just cautiously optimistic that the children, which we are first and foremost in our work, had a positive experience this week, and I think a lot of kids went to bed tired and happy and had moved their limbs, and it's a turning point. So congratulations to everyone. Thank you.
Mr. Margot.
Thank you. I would just quickly add that I wanted to thank the staff and our teachers who have been flexible and have pivoted all year and are now hopefully pivoting back in the direction of normal. It's been a long time. I think we're also finding that for the first time in a long time, students are looking forward to going to school. And that's a very hard thing, at least to get a teenager to look forward to do. Congratulate again the SkillsUSA students that moving on to state. Wonderful job, wonderful presentation. I've been thinking of the sugar cookies all night now. And then finally, since we won't be meeting until after this event occurs, I did wanted to say a quick shout out to the City Council, whose installation is on April 6th. And Mayor Friedman will be stepping down as he finishes his term. Thank you, Mayor Friedman, for your leadership entirely during a pandemic. So hats off to Mayor Friedman. Nobody really expected to have to do that when you run for office. That he started in March and concludes in March, and I don't think he cut one ribbon. I don't think you even got to do that. So thank you, Mayor Friedman, and I look forward to Mayor Wunderlich and him stepping up, and the entire City Council. I think it's Vice Mayor Bossy coming up too. So congratulations to them as well.
Okay, well, I have a couple of things that I'd like to say. Number one, on Saturday afternoon this past week, I had the pleasure of attending the CASC, which is the California Association of Student Councils. And they had a conference. This group was formed in 1947. It gives the students the opportunity to meet and confer with students all over, with student council representatives from all over the state. They get the opportunity to develop leadership skills. They get an opportunity to have their voices heard. This particular Saturday afternoon, there was a conference devoted to students' possible solutions on this and discussions on certain issues that come up before the students. There was a panel, and I was invited by a young man from our school who was instrumental in running this conference. His name is Eli Raymer, and I'd like to mention and give him a shout out. He did a fantastic job. There were four, actually, or six, I think it was, actually areas. There were two on mental health. There was one on sexual harassment and awareness. There was an LGBTQ one. There was sustainability, adaptation, and recovery from the pandemic. And there were panels of kids that worked all day long to go over suggestions and ideas and conference about it. And then they came back with their suggestions and their speeches and everything, and they, for the most part, presented to this panel of 5 people that I was privileged to be on. 3 of the other panelists were board members, and one was a student council leader herself. And it was really a wonderful way to see our young students interact. And I was totally unaware of, I know we have a student council, but I didn't know that this was something that they did. So I really want to congratulate them on a very fine program. And then I would like to speak for a minute about something that our administration put out this week, the condemnation of racism, xenophobia, and intolerance against Asian Americans. I hope everybody saw that. I would like to, when we meet next time, to have possibly us put something out also. I think that's something that we should put something out, and I would like to discuss that at the next meeting. I'll have something prepared and have it on the agenda. If that's all right with you, Dr. Brady, I may just probably paraphrase a lot of what, and I know that you spent a lot of time on this according to when I asked you about it, and you had 8 people or 9 people working on it, and it was very difficult to get through because everybody wanted to put their own 2 cents in, and it was very difficult. But I want to thank you for putting it out, and I think it's something that we as a board member should also do, and I would like to see that. And lastly, I would just like to wish everybody a wonderful spring break. Please, if you have to travel, remember you must quarantine when you come back. Please keep that in mind. And with that, I'm going to wish everybody, it's already been said, happy Passover, happy Easter, and for the Persian families in our community, a very happy Nowruz holiday, because that's also coming up, I think, in the next few days. So with that, I would like to remind everybody that our next meeting will be April 13th. Again, we will be in session at the table here, but it will be on Zoom, as far as I know. And I think that with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.